What's up, fellow football fans around the world? Today we're going to keep ranking the Champions League teams this year from number 32 to number 1. I've already done a video ranking the bottom teams from 32 to 25. Now we're going to continue with number 24. This is Salzburg, the Austrian champions. They finished first in the Austrian league last season. They're the best Austrian team, hands down, and in my opinion, the 24th best team in the Champions League this year. They did have to play, even though they won the Austrian league, they had to play in the playoff round in order to qualify for the Champions League group stages. They beat Maccabi Tel Aviv from Israel. Not a big surprise there. Last year they did really well. They finished third in their group stage, so they didn't proceed to the knockout stages, but they finished behind European standouts Liverpool and Napoli, so two elite teams. Otherwise, they did very well. They have some interesting players, but I do think that this year they're going to be in Group A with Bayern, Atletico, and Lokomotiv. I think they're probably going to finish third again, probably in front of Lokomotiv, I would guess. But for them to finish in front of Bayern or Atletico, I think Bayern and Atletico would really need to drop the ball there. I don't think they have much of a chance of getting to the knockout stages, but for them, finishing third would be good. They would proceed to the knockout stages of the Europa League, where they would have a much better chance of doing well. So I think third really is their objective in the group this year again. So team number 23, Marseille, Olympique Marseille, a French classic. Last year they finished second in the French league, which was their best performance in Ligue 1 for quite some time. Now Marseille, they're historically they're the best French team. It's not really the case anymore. Obviously, with Paris Saint-Germain receiving a huge amount of money from from Arabia, but Marseille is arguably the most historical French team. They're the only French team to have ever won the Champions League. PSG got really close last year, but obviously they ended up losing against Bayern Munich. But I like this Marseille team. I don't know if they'll be able to get far. They're going to be in Group C with Porto, Manchester City, Olympiacos. So not that crazy to think that Marseille could, along with Manchester City, proceed to the knockout stages. But Porto and Olympiacos also very good team. So, but I think they're competitive, and they got a group that favors them, with only Manchester City really outside of their grasp. I think all the matches are going to be interesting against Porto, against Manchester City, against Olympiacos. So they got a really good group, and I think they might have a very good season ahead of them. And not only will they try to qualify for the Champions League again next year by finishing third or second in the French league, but also, hey, maybe even get to the knockout stages of the Champions League, or at the very least finish third, which I think they're definitely capable of doing in their group, and then going to the Europa League afterwards. They have some really good players. Dario Benedetto, the Argentinian, he's a very good number 9. Their captain, Dimitri Payet, a feature of the French national team, especially in the past. Thauvin, which is a very good player. Mandanda, their goalkeeper, very competent. Strootman, very good Dutch midfielder, Dutch national team. And Mitroglou, very good Greek striker, former Benfica striker, pretty good striker. So a very good, competent team. Finished second in the French league last year. Not very close from to PSG, but still pretty good, competent team. I think they have a chance in their group for sure. And then number 22, Olympiacos, who will also be in their group. I think they're just a little bit better than Marseille. And what I said about Marseille, the same thing goes for Olympiacos in terms of their aspirations, really. This is a team that has the capacity in a group like Group C with Porto, Manchester City, Marseille. They certainly have the capacity, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see them in the knockout stages, proceed to the knockout stages. So they can finish second. They can also finish third, but they can also finish fourth, because Porto and Marseille are very good teams, and obviously Manchester City, one of the European giants right now. But they're Greek champions. They win the Greek League almost every year. They're a staple team in the Champions League. And they had to beat Omonia from Cyprus in the playoff round to qualify to the group stages. But no surprise there. Olympiacos, we're used to seeing Olympiacos in the group stage of the Champions League, and it wouldn't be crazy this year. They have an accessible group, so it wouldn't be crazy to see them in the knockout stages. But they'll have to play their best football in order to get there. Now, 21, Zenit St. Petersburg. They were in pot one, so draw pool one because they won the Russian league, and that obviously favored them in the draw. They got a pretty accessible group, Group F: Dortmund, Lazio, Club Brugge. They should have a chance of qualifying to the knockout stages alongside with Dortmund. I would say that they're a little bit behind, in my opinion, Dortmund and Lazio, but this is a solid team, Russian champions, so they obviously qualified automatically and got into pot one. But last year, they didn't do so well in the Champions League. They finished last in their group behind Leipzig, Lyon, and Benfica. So good teams, but not elite teams, really, with the possible exception of Leipzig. But it wasn't a crazy group for Zenit St. Petersburg. This year, their group is kind of the same. Not a lot of no big sharks, but still very good group, very good teams: Dortmund, Lazio, Bruges. So they'll have to do a lot better than they did last year if they want to do well. Last year they couldn't even finish third and go to the Europa League. I think that was a pretty big disappointment, especially because they had Bruges in their group. But I think this year, sorry, because they had Leipzig, Lyon, and Benfica in their group. But this year, especially having Bruges in their group, they should be able to finish at least third, I imagine. We'll have to see. Some notable players. They have Malcolm, former Barcelona winger, very good Brazilian winger, and they have Artem Zuba, who is their captain. He's a pretty good forward, plays for the Russian national team, forward for the Russian national team. So some really good players. They're a competent team. I don't think we're going to see them reach the quarterfinals or the semifinals, but again, they have a chance of reaching the knockout stages. Now, number 20, another team from Europe, from Eastern Europe, this time from Ukraine, Shakhtar Donetsk, the best team from Ukraine right now, Ukrainian champions, so they qualified automatically to the Champions League, to the group stages. They're going to be in a tough group with Real Madrid, Inter, and Borussia Monchengladbach. It's going to be tough with Real Madrid and Inter to qualify to the knockout stages, but I think third place in the group is definitely within the reach. And who knows? They could even qualify for the knockout stages if they can get good results against the likes of Real Madrid and Inter, and obviously Mönchengladbach. So always a good team, always a tough team. They have an interesting. This is a very interesting team because it's a Ukrainian team, but half of their players are Brazilian, and it's like this every year. So it's a very interesting mix of that, of having the best Ukrainian players really for the most part in their ranks, and also having a lot of talent that they get usually for pretty cheap, but they get very good players, young with potential from Brazil, from the Brazilian national team, and it has been the door it has been a way for Brazilian players to get to European football and then maybe make the jump to even bigger clubs. This has happened to a number of players. Fred, who later went to Manchester United, Willian, that ended up at Chelsea. So a lot of cases like that. And but actually, I would say their most interesting player right now is actually a Ukrainian player, Kovalenko, number 20 midfielder, very good midfielder. He's been a lot of big European teams have been interested in him, and he's a fairly good player. I want to see him play a little bit more and see him in the Champions League. Now, number 19, FC Porto, two-time European champions, current Portuguese champions. Because of that, they qualified automatically to the group stage in pot one. That favored them, just like what I said about Zenit. they ended up getting a pretty accessible group with Manchester City, Olympiacos, and Marseille. And this is really the unpredictable group. I don't know who's going to, I think Manchester City is going to finish first, but who knows who's going to finish second, if it's going to be Olympiacos, if it's going to be Marseille. But my bet would be on Porto. Porto is always a very solid team. They're always very close to winning the Portuguese league. If they don't win it, it's usually between Porto and Benfica. Unfortunately for me, because Sporting Lisbon is actually my hometown team. So I would like to see Sporting win, but usually it's between Porto and Benfica in Portugal. And in Europe, Porto usually does very, very well. I mean, they have a very good selection of players. They have a lot of talent. They have Marega, they have João Mario, Danilo. Well, no, sorry, Danilo actually left for PSG, but they still have Corona. They have Pepe. So they lost some good players this year. So, but they're used to that. They're like every Portuguese team. They're used to losing some of their key players. In this case, Alex Telles or Danilo, that they lost this summer, but to Manchester United and PSG. But they're still a pretty good team. They're going to be solid. I think they have a real chance. My bet would be on Porto to reach the knockout stages alongside Manchester City to finish second in the group. Always a solid team. Now, number 18, Borussia Monchengladbach from Germany. They finished fourth in the Bundesliga, but that's even a little bit deceiving because for most of the year, or at least a good half of the year, they were actually doing exceptionally well in the Bundesliga last year, threatening to even win it. They were giving the likes of Bayern and Dortmund and Leipzig a really hard time in the Bundesliga. They ended up finishing fourth, so definitely behind Bayern, Dortmund, Leipzig. And they even had some trouble actually securing a Champions League spot because Leverkusen was right behind them. So they didn't finish the season super strong, but they had a fantastic season, especially the first half of the season last year. So that shows you, I mean, the Bundesliga is one of the best leagues in the world. So for them to really be up there with the likes of Bayern, Leipzig, Dortmund for almost 6 months, I mean, this is a very competent team. However, they are in a tough group with Real Madrid, Inter, Shakhtar. So to be honest, I don't expect to see them in the knockout stages, but I do think that they have a pretty good chance of finishing third and going to the Europa League afterward. And now 17, the last team in this video, SS Lazio, Italian classic, big team from Rome, also a classical European team. They're not as good as they were in the 90s or early 2000s when they won the Italian league, when they had some very good European runs. But the Lazio is seeing somewhat of a resurgence recently, and they also finished. It's a little bit like Mönchengladbach. They finished a historical team which didn't do so well in the past 20 years or so. 15, 20 years, but now they're really making a comeback, and Lazio is just like that. They finished fourth in the Italian league, but again, as like Mönchengladbach, that's a little bit deceiving because they were the biggest threat to Juventus throughout most of the season. Arguably, you can say Inter was as well, but they were definitely up there with Inter, Juventus, and then they ended up behind Juventus, Inter, and Atalanta, the last year's revelation team, Atalanta. But we'll cover Atalanta in the next video. But I mean, Lazio did really, really well last season. They played very well in the Serie A, and this season I think they're going to be strong again. I mean, they have essentially the same team, and they have really big players, really good players. Like in the image here, Ciro Immobile, Capo Cannoniere, the best striker, the best scorer in the Italian league, and I believe in the whole of Europe actually. And then they have Milinkovic-Savic, one of the most sought after midfielders in the whole continent. Joaquin Correa, very good Argentinian striker that Juventus wanted to pay 50 million euros for him this summer. he's probably worth it. Luis Alberto, very good Brazilian midfielder. Marco Parolo from the Italian national team. So they have very good, interesting players. They have a very solid team right now. I think they're a better team than AS Roma, their eternal rivals from Rome, and they're really one of the best Italian teams right now. The Serie A is kind of seeing a resurgence as a whole. We're seeing Italian teams really become competitive again and do well in Europe, create very good projects. Not only Juventus, obviously, they've been there for a while, but also Inter coming back with Conte, creating a good team, doing well in Europe. Last year they finished second in the Europa League, runners up to Sevilla. So Lazio is really they have a very interesting project, and I think in a group with Zenit, Dortmund, and Bruges, I expect them to go to the knockout stages. I expect them to have a very good European run this season. I might be wrong, but I expect them to see them do very well in the Champions League this year. So that's it. In the next video, I'll cover team 16 to 9, and I hope you enjoyed this video.